All right, guys, we are here live with another week of the Monday Huddle. It's been amazing so far to connect with you guys and be a part of you beating your Monday. I am G.
I'm Derek.
And we are here to be a part of your day today. And for the rest of the week, come back and watch this again.
So, we always start with a quote. Let's jump on in. Here we go. So this one says, the sun himself is weak when he first rises and gathers strength and courage as the day goes on. That is by the one and the only Charles Dickens. I'll read it one more time. It says, the sun himself is weak when he first rises and gathers strength and courage as the day goes on. What does that mean to you?
You know, I think that it reminds me of whenever I first wake up, I don't want to get up.
I don't.
So if you feel weak and you feel vulnerable, I know I try to get up quickly, but it's more of a drag out. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that like in anything, it's kind of like people that don't want to go to the gym, but once they're there, they're doing really well.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so I think that the sun kicking off is kind of low, doesn't have a whole lot. I don't know if you could get sunburn at 6 a.m. in the morning, but you could get sunburn at the peak hour.
Right.
And so I think that with everything is good to start at a good, steady process and then knock it out the park when you get to the peak. When I think about that, that's what I think.
Yeah. And I think about maybe it's okay for Monday to not be high noon. Right, I know we're talking about the rising in the setting of the sun in the week, and talking about it's weak when it rises, and in the middle of the day is when it's the peak, and then end of the day, then it's probably also the weakest again.
Yeah.
And I know we're also talking about the week as well, so maybe the sun rising on Monday and setting on Sunday or something like that. This is Charles Dickens. We can't peek into his mind and figure out what he's saying,
Right.
But I think what we got out of it is talking about this starting, this maintaining, the peak of your productivity, and then the setting, whether it's over the course of a day or over the course of a project, over the course of the week, knowing that motivation, inspiration, discipline, our week, our days, all have a cycle.
That's right.
And tapping into what is our method or what's our cycle.
That's right. Listen, when I was in the military, we used to do all kind of training, and we would bunker down all night long and be in our position, but the attacks usually happen at the sunrise. When the sun is getting ready, it's still low light. You can see enough to be able to come in and ambush. And the enemy is just getting up. You know what I mean? It's they're rising of the day. And so usually military will come in on that first part of the day where they can see just enough so that they could go in on the attack.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So if we take the same mentality of trying to figure out when is the best time to attack our duties, our responsibilities, our to-do list, it has to be up to us.
That's right.
I know a lot of people, they wait for the sunrise because of our cycle, like our body cycles, and it's like we want to get enough sleep, and then when the sun gets up, we feel like we're supposed to be up, and it's hard to lay in the bed when the light is peeking through the curtain, and so we just get up with the sun. But I think we get to choose our own cycles.
That's right.
We get to choose our own path to productivity, and it's very important for us to lock into what makes us the most productive, whether it's getting up before the sun, when the sun rises, or after the sun. We got to figure out when we're the weakest and where we're the strongest.
That's right. Well, if you look at your day and when you feel like you have the most attentiveness, or when you feel like you have the most desire, right? When I get up in the morning, that's the time when I'm just kind of like, okay, I gotta attack the big stuff, so that I can go ahead and get this out of the way. Later on, I can just chill out,
Really?
Then I say this, and I think I mentioned this even last time. Like I push the big rocks first, and then there's stuff that I do that's pretty big, but I know that I don't have to give it a lot of attention. I don't know. Let's say, for example, I'm doing a counseling with somebody, right? And that's them talking the entire time. I'm asking questions. That's a small rock for me.
Okay.
Right? Now, a big rock for me is maybe creating content.
Okay.
That's a big rock. You know what I mean? So that requires all of me to be engaged and give it all the attention. Now, imagine if I flip that around and I at the end of the day, I try to create content.
Oh, and you use all your other energy
after all of like the counseling, or after all of the kids, or after all of that. And so we have to give attention to ourselves and knowing what part of the day do I thrive the most.
Absolutely. That's really good. And that makes me think about like people who have their different cycles of productivity in whether you do something that's hard first or something that's easy first to give you a couple of wins. It's funny that before we started recording today, I was talking to G about like my productivity cycles and the things that I do and being an avoidance and needing some wins. I know some days I wake up and I'm on fire and I jump in and I get the hard stuff done first. But here recently, I just needed wins. Like I need to pile win on top of win on top of win in order to build up the motivation to do something big in my day. For example, when I know I have something really big or in my mind it's big and I need to pile up some wins, I like to take the trash out.
Oh, yeah.
Or like I do laundry, or like wipe off the countertops, or like feed the dog, or fold some towels, or like make a few phone calls, or like check a few emails. Like I almost have to snowball into the day. And I'm not always like that. Some days I wake up, I get 6, 7, 8 hours of rest, very rarely 8 hours, but I get enough rest in order to feel like energized, and I hit the floor running. And it's absolutely nothing for me to jump out of bed and my sun rises like, it doesn't like slow rise. It like jumps to high noon. And so I'm ready to go. But I think being able to be self-aware and like tap into ourselves and figure out what type of day it is, what type of week it is, how many small projects do we have, how many big ones we have, so that we can navigate the week and be aware of our cycle and our energy.
That's right. Well, and that's incredible that you say that you have to have a bunch of small wins. But we got to be careful a lot of times with a bunch of small wins.
That's true.
Because that all that's doing is you just playing tricks on your mind. Like, oh, I feel so productive. I'm knocking a lot of stuff out of the way.
And you're not doing nothing.
Exactly. Nothing. So I kind of gauge my life in this way. There are things that I have to do that is imperative for me to be a part of. There's some things that require just a mediocre amount of my attention. And then there's some things that don't require my attention.
Yeah.
All of them are important, but not all of them require my attention.
Oh, that's good. That's
you know what I'm saying? So I'll give you an example, right? The trash in my house.
Yeah.
Does it need to be taken out?
Absolutely.
Do I need to be the one to do it?
You don't.
Because that's energy that I'm putting towards something that now somebody else could be doing.
Yeah.
Right? And so there are things like, managing the checkbook at my house. Is it important?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Does somebody have to do it?
Yeah.
So my wife does all of that.
I thought you were going to say, so I do it.
No, I don't. And so, but there's things that I do, right? Yeah. There's things that I have to give attention to. I preach on Sunday. So guess what I got to do? I got to prepare a message. My wife can't do that for me. My kids can't do that for me. There are times where there's a lot of people at the hospital where they're needing visits, right? And it's important. Somebody has to do it.
Right.
But a lot of times what we do is that we take the responsibility of something that someone else can be doing. And a lot of times, what if that's their big thing and it's a small thing for you, but you're hoarding it all just because you want to get a win, but you're taking a big thing from somebody else.
Yeah, and so that expands the conversation to include other people into our universe, right? This is good that we're talking about the sun because we have lots of things that are surrounding the sun and the things that pull, like the gravity that kind of keeps those things into play. And so if my sun of productivity is rising and peaking and setting, during that time, we specifically have wives, children, we have companies to run, we have people to check on, and lots of times I think we kind of take on those things. One, maybe we don't want to bother people. Two, it gives us wins. For me, it gives me easy wins. Three, I think maybe the fear of delegation. And so again, I think it's very important that as we're trying to dominate the day and the week and check things off of our checklist, we have to be self-aware. I have to be self-aware that there's some things that I do that maybe I don't need to do. So here's a different perspective. And you just brought this up just now. This is a fresh revelation.
Right out of the oven.
It's fresh off the... Here's the thing. Like, sometimes I think that when I take on those small things, while in my mind, I'm trying to play tricks on my mind to make me feel like I'm building up wins. The other thing is those things are sucking the energy away from the big things that I should have attention on, that I should be focusing on. G and I are both gardeners, and we both grow tomatoes. And one of the things that I love about tomato plants is that as you're growing them, they talk about these little sprouts that come off to the side. And if you let those sprouts come off to the side too often, then your big top of the tomato won't produce as many buds or as many tomatoes. And so what you're supposed to do is that in order to grow bigger, better, juicier, sweeter tomatoes, you pick off the little ones so that they don't distract all the energy from going to the top. And so for me, when I'm trying to think of ways to make things make sense in the earth and in my life and things that I can touch and feel and understand, to me, it just like settled in right now. I've been trying to get these small wins, but what I've been viewing as small wins are actually taking away from my productivity.
That's right. That's right. So imagine you were fishing, right? I like going catching. I don't like going fishing.
Fish, you don't catch nothing. Yeah.
So imagine if you had 10 reels, right? 10 lines out in the water.
Yeah.
Right? And you could see one is bent like, I mean, it is like an upside down J. That's a big one, right? And then there's another one that you could see it's just moving, right? Which one gets you more excited?
The one with that's bent over. Like, I'm gonna go get that one.
Yeah, but in I say your mind, let's generalize it. In an individual's mind, right? We would say, well, this is a quick win. I know I could get this one real quick. So let me go ahead and reel this one in.
Absolutely.
Right? And then what happens by the time you reel in this little one, then that one that was bowled over is all of a sudden now straight.
Yeah, he done took your bait and he gone.
And he's gone. And so that's what happens a lot of times when we give attention to the things that is just kind of like just the little stuff. Yeah. We potentially miss the big stuff.
Absolutely. So how do we focus in on those things that should matter and mean the most? What are some things that we can do just kind of practically when we're talking about, we know we only have so much sun in a day. We only have so many hours in the day. We know that we're only going to be so productive for so many hours in our day, in our week. What's something that you believe that we can do in order to prioritize the amount of sun that we have in our day and our week?
Well, first, as I mentioned, taking a look at what requires your time. Yeah. Like only you can do. There's some things that only you can do. And create a list. These 3 different categories. Yeah. What do you do during the day? Well, I get up, I feed the dog. I, make breakfast. I begin to, have some prayer time. Maybe I create some content. I got to answer some emails, call some people. Yeah. This is my list. Whatever your list is, you just make a long list of things that you normally do. Absolutely. Forget about the breaking into categories. Now, once you have that list, now there are things that require your time. There are things that you have to give attention to, but are not a priority. And then the things that somebody else can do. Yeah. And when you can break it up, the things that you're doing into those 3 different areas, then you can realize, or you begin to realize, okay, only I can do this. Yeah. I can give this one my attention today or tomorrow. This list I could give to somebody else to do. Yeah. And break it up in that way just so that you can realize, think about this. I mean, how many people in the world?
8 billion. I think we just went over 7 million, approaching 8 billion. Okay. All right.
So there's some things that you do, again, I'm generalizing, that you just kind of like, let me just go ahead and do it because I can do it better anyway. 8 billion people in this world. And I'm the only one. And you're the only one that can do it the best. Right. So that's what our list a lot of times is comprised of. It's just kind of like, well, I have to do this because who else is going to do it? Yeah. And I got to show up to this because, I'm the man. And
listen, man, you messing up people's paradigm right now. You messing up that because you know how many times, like, I think, and again, I'll go back to the 3 things of the reasons why we do them. One, we feel like we're the only one that can do them. We don't want to inconvenience people, and we're fear of delegate. We don't know how to delegate. And so when I break these things out into these lists, what are things that need to be done? What are things that only I can do? What are things that other people can do? And I know we can even break those lists down even more so, like what's urgent, what's not urgent, like those things like that. It seems like for us trying to dominate the day, trying to dominate the week. Remember, we're talking about this, the Monday huddle. How can we get started off really well? This episode and the episode previously, G is talking about lists. Like, how can we put things in a list, in a category, so that our minds can either fixate on things or like park and lock them and put them to the side? And I think those are really good methods for us to practice. Like, what are some things, just right now, if we pause this, if you want to pause this thing right now and think about what are some things that I need to do today, if you are listening.